Howdy guys, Radio Magic here. I hope you are all having a fantastic morning, day, afternoon or evening, wherever you are and whatever you are up to. Today we are back on the channel testing how viable is Control when climbing the historic ladder to get to Mythic, or maybe you're just trying to make your opponent's life as miserable as humanly possible. Whatever your reason, you're here watching some Control. So today we're going to be trying some Dimir Control. We recently tried Jeskai and Azorius, but now it's time to mix it up and go back to another two-color combination Control list and give Dimir a shot. So I'm not going to go over a deck tech because I'm sure you guys can see, and I'm trying to make these videos shorter so we can get our 5 games in and potentially even 6 if we had enough time. But I don't want to go over the 2-hour mark. So no deck tech. You can find in the description down below all of the timestamps for the games. So feel free to go and check them out. There's no spoilers, so feel free to do that. You'll also find the deck list in the description down below, so you can import that to Arena if that's something you're interested in trying. But maybe watch the video first and see how it does and how all the cards play together, to get a feel to see if this is how you want to spend your wild cards. But I'll go over a few cards because there's some rationale and logic as to why I've made the decisions I have. So I'm playing Tempted by Auric, a 4-mana sorcery, triple blue and 1, so it is a little bit difficult to cast. But for each opponent, gain control of up to 1 target creature or planeswalker that player controls with converted mana cost 3 or less. I have absolutely no idea how this is going to play. I'm feeling in them aggro Gruul matchups, this is going to be really good, being able to take like a Gruul Spellbreaker and then eat a few of our opponent's creatures, or maybe just trade it off is going to be quite good. Obviously it can't target things like Questing Beast, but what can you do about that? We've got other answers, such as like Heartless Act and Vraska's Contempt. So I'm trying Tempted by Auric. I have a feeling that in a lot of situations it's just going to be a 2-for-1 trade, which I don't know is going to be good enough to be playing a 4-mana sorcery. Maybe we'd just rather play the extra Vraska's Contempt and Extinction Event. It's just a bit more consistency. Don't know, but we will know by the end of the video how happy we are by Tempted by Auric. Also, you'll notice we are not playing Brainstorm, even though we are playing Fable Passage. This is probably a mistake, but I originally had Brainstorm in the list, but I could not make cuts for it. It was really difficult, so I ended up cutting the Brainstorms altogether. 26 lands, so we're probably going to be punished and not find our land drops. We're also not playing Memory Lapse, which is something I'm a little bit worried about. But we did play Memory Lapse in Jeskai and Azorius, so maybe it's time just to give Memory Lapse a bit of a break and try something else. That being said, I am a little bit worried about the lack of counter spells we are running in this list. Not running Censor and not running Memory Lapse, so a little bit worried. But we'll see how we get on with that. Mana base is pretty simple. We're going to lean on our Castle Lochthwains to draw us a bit of extra cards in the late game, and Castle Vantress maybe when we're a little bit lower on life to scry us out of some problems. Cling to Dust as our main deck graveyard hate, so we're not running cages, though we are running cages in the board, so don't worry, we have got them somewhere. We've got everyone's favourite Fort Distortion in the board as well, so hopefully we can catch a few players out. And you'll notice from looking at the board as well, this is where most of our counter spells are sitting, so we're going to bring them in when we need them. Shadow's Verdict as our extra board wipe as well for like Rakdos sacrifice lists and things like that. We can exile our opponent's whole graveyard and get rid of them. But hopefully today we are going to be the ones turn 1 fort seizing our opponent, because we do have Water Graves and Swamps, so it is entirely possible. We are going to play 4 or 5 games back to back as we always do. We're not going to cut out any games, so if I make some big misplays, feel free to either ignore them or throw them down in the comments down below. Maybe if I point out my misplays, don't necessarily throw them down, because I don't know what the need for that is, unless you've got a suggestion of how I could play it differently, and I didn't already mention it. But always happy to hear feedback and things like that. So if you see something that I made a mistake and I didn't necessarily mention it, please do throw that down below, because I love to hear it. I'm trying to improve as a player, and it's important that we all do that, I think, sometimes. So yeah, I'm going to shut up now and try and make these intros a little bit more concise, but I will catch you again at the end of the wrap up. So back in Historic, taking a break from Azorius with some Dimir today, and we're against Yorion the Sky and Nomad, so we're probably going to keep this hand. It seems quite reasonable against Yorion. We'll start with Fable Passage. Okay, so opponent's on Cage, so it's going to stop our Torrential Gearhulk plan, but apart from that, not too worried. Makes sense that opponent is running Cage in the main. Guess we go get Swamp. So our opponent could be running Memory Lapse here. Fort Distortion. Not Fort Distortion. Growth Spiral even. I don't know. In my experience, these Yorion lists are normally on like Sultai Ultimatum. And they don't normally run counter spells. Probably not cycling Shark Typhoons. I think we're just happy to Narset here. If it gets countered, it gets countered. Opponent's got Omens, that's fine. Yeah, I don't think we want to make a 1-1 Shark. A 2-2 Shark's like a lot more pressure. I don't think Tempted by Oryx is going to be any good in this game.
Mind and body should move in unison, like wind and wave. Hone your prowess.
We'll just grab some protection with Disallow. Then next turn we have the option either to make a Shark, Vraska's Contempt, or Disallow. Opponent's got their own Narset.
I have practiced against many foes. Meditate and prepare.
So we're not running Eliminate, we're running Heartless Act instead, so it's a little bit different. I think we're going to... I guess let's Four.Vs first, and then we might actually make a 1-1 if our opponent takes down this Narset. Okay, Shadow's Verdict's not an issue, we'll take the Ultimatum. And then, yeah, I think we're just going to... We will tick down. And then if our opponent decides to Shadow's Verdict on a future turn, which whiff, then we don't lose out on too much.
Keep an open mind.
Could have also last turn like gained control of our opponent's Narset maybe. I think I like cycling here though. We want to hit our land drops if possible. Opponent's got one unknown card. But they're not going to Growth Spiral this turn. Okay, opponent is going to Growth Spiral. Maybe an oopsie. Or they just want to put an extra land into play. I'm not sure, I guess we'll never know. So let's make a 1-1.
I won't forget our time together.
Yeah, and I think we'll still hold the Fable Passage in case we... Actually, it's probably best just to thin the deck a little bit. See what our opponent's up to. If our opponent just puts Yorion into the hand, then I guess we're just activating Castle Mantras. I never mind Time Warp with these sort of incidents, because our opponent's just essentially using Time Warp to make an extra land drop. May as well save our counter spell for something relevant that our opponent does. I mean, I don't know how relevant the World Tree is going to be. Again, I don't know if our opponent's making a mistake with Narset. Yeah, I feel like that was a shame, but to do it twice in a row... I mean, the first time, fair enough, but second time, ugh. So we can bring in the goodies against what our opponent's up to. I think even Fort Distortion. We can cut the Cling, cut the Fatal Pushes. Heartless Act, I guess, can go. Extinction Event can go. I think we'll keep in the Vraska's Contempt because our opponent does have some creatures and Planeswalkers. I don't think Tempted's going to be too good. But yeah, the rest of it seems okay. I assume our opponent boards out Cage. Maybe they're scared of Commit Memory, but... Being in Dimir, Commit itself answers Cage, so maybe our opponent just thinks about that and goes, yeah, I'll cut him. But I think this list looks okay. Yeah, let's run like that. Okay, so I think our opponent decided to shame scoop the entire match because they made a Growth Spiral faux pas as well as an Explore mistake. So, fair enough, let's move on to the next one. So, opponent is on the mulligan, down to 6 at the moment, and they're no companions, so we don't know what they're on. This hand's a little bit slow, but we got Cling to Dust, so maybe we can draw into something. Probably keep this. If our opponent's on something like Gruul, we're going to feel really bad. They decided to mulligan down to 6. Just hope that they're not too fast. Okay, so nothing from our opponent so far. Okay, at least we'll get to redraw. Search is a good one. I assume our opponent has a counterspell. But I think we can just play into it. Maybe we hold open disallow. I know we don't have disallow, but can lead our opponent to believe we have it. I think it's fine. If our opponent has a Nissa next turn, then we've got the Vraska's Contempt for it. Feels really bad if our opponent's on like a Simic Flash list or something. They get to rewind and then wolf us. I guess they don't have double green, so they can cast the wolf. Oh, nice. First time seeing this in a constructed format. Seems okay. 8 mana is a bit expensive. But I guess that's why it's got the failsafe of discarding it for 2 mana. Get the feeling our opponent's not on a creature list, so probably just going to get rid of that. And we'll start playing out these Fable Passages so we can maybe flip this Searchfast Canter a little bit quicker and then give our Cling to Dust some ammunition. Our opponent could be on the cast a... I can't remember what the card is. I'll put it up on screen now. The 4 mana red spell that you get to cast an instant or sorcery out of your graveyard without paying its mana cost. It makes sense that they're discarding some expensive sorceries. Is a sorcery? Instant. I guess we're just Vraska's Contempting here. Kind of happy to just put cards in the graveyard. I don't think we're going to untap and then Tempted by Auric the 2/2 Shark, because it just taps us down for our opponent's turn. They might be living under the assumption at the moment that we might have a counter spell, so they don't want to just play into it. Yeah, we'll keep a Shark Typhoon. So land is 5, Shark Typhoon is 6. Okay, so Nightpack Ambusher. Opponent did have it. So we can Shark Typhoon for free. It's not really going to be enough. Can't block the Ambusher successfully. But it does allow us to flip Searchfast Canter, so it gets that going a bit quicker. So I think we do want to do it regardless here. But Simic Flash confirmed. I guess we can trade with one of our opponent's 3/3 wolves. Could gain control of one of the wolves as well. Opponent could have like Brazen Borrow or something here. If our opponent has like a disallow, then probably should have Shark Typhooned in at the end of our opponent's second main phase, so they didn't get the trigger off the Nightpack Ambusher. But if it's a Brazen Borrow, it won't matter either way, because they can just do it in the end step. Opponent's just taking a second to decide what they would like to do. Oh, nice! So they get to counter the draw, I guess? This is still 4 CMC. So I guess we're playing Searchfast Canter and then just Heartless Acting while our opponent's tapped down. Don't think we have any bounce spells, so I don't know which one is worth destroying. I guess we've got Commit to Memory, so probably best just destroying the actual copy. And then if we commit the token, it'll obviously fizzle. Yeah, we're going to flip Searchfast Canter either way, so probably best to not play the other one out of our hand. It does get our hand size down a little bit for Castle Lochwain. I think we're okay. Extinction Event is a good one. I think we could tempt it, and then if our opponent counters, then we've got Extinction Event. Or we could Extinction Event, and then I guess if our opponent counters, it's not good. But if our opponent has like a Quench, then we'd want to cast the Extinction Event first. Opponent could have another Night Pack Ambusher. Not much we can really do here. We get to activate Searchlight Canter again in the end step. We've got tons of removal. Things like, we've gone past 2 Fable Passages, but Fatal Push would be good with a Fable Passage. Got another Heartless Act, Vraska's Contempt. Yeah, Tempted by Auric, not looking too good here. Fortunately being limited by 3 CMC. So take that Contempt. Guess we'll play the Mind Stone and then put a pause and Vraska's Contempt, the Night Pack Ambusher. I guess we'll do it in our opponent's upkeep actually. So probably best to do it now. Before our opponent draws 2 cards. We get to play around Mystical Dispute and Quench here, not Negate. But it's not obvious that our opponent will be playing Negate in the main. And we still get to activate Searchlight Canter. Could Cling to Dust as well if we're like scared of dying, gain a little bit of life. Okay, opponent top 2. Oof. Opponent wants to do something now while we're tapped down. Normally it's our end step they want to play in. We haven't seen Brazen Borrow, but you've got to assume your opponent has it. I think Heartless Act is fine, it can answer a Wolf. Just a cheap answer as well. Oh. Okay, so we get to steal this 4/4. We get some value. And then I guess we just get to pass the turn. We're not going to die to this Wolf either way, even if our opponent has Removal Spell and then Night Pack Ambusher. And then probably just activating Searchlight Canter. Yeah, I think that's game. Opponent can recast out the graveyard. Not much we can do about that. Maybe should have played around Torrential Gearhulk. Yep, GG. Okay, so opponent's on Simic Flash with trying to Torrential Gearhulk us, I guess. We did mention this at the beginning as well. That our opponent could be discarding these to cast them back for free. So we actually have a lot against what our opponent's trying to do. I guess our opponent's not going to appreciate Hand Hate that much. Cling to Dust. It's okay. It gets around Torrential Gear Hulk in that. Didn't keep it up there, but we could have. I guess Fort Distortion's okay if our opponent's just got like infinite counter spells. Extinction Event might be okay since we can just mop up what our opponent's doing. Probably better than Shadow's Verdict. Vraska's Contempt's okay. And cut some number of them. Probably not resolving a Torrential Gear Hulk. Maybe we don't need all of these. Mystical Dispute doesn't help stop the Ambusher. Don't know how many creatures our opponent's going to have, but Fort Distortion fixes the whole problem of what our opponent's trying to do. It'll exile their graveyard as well as any counter spells they might be hiding within hand. Just decisions on what to cut here. I think the hand hate like Four.Vs is probably worth keeping in. It's probably one of the edges we have. Get to dismantle our opponent's threats and just leave them with a few counter spells. Maybe it is like Vraska's Contempt we want to cut. Just as one of our expensive removal spells. Maybe we can go like a Fatal Push and 2 Vraska's Contempts. And then we've got Extinction Events to answer what our opponent's up to. It can get multiple Wolves at the same time, but we still have Heartless Act and cheap Fatal Pushes. So I think this match is going to be decided by cheap spells rather than tapping down for Vraska's Contempt. So, moving into game 2 against Simic Flash, and I think this is reasonable. We get to cycle this Fetid Pools. Then we just got some counter spells to slow down our opponent. Looks like our opponent might be mulliganing to 6, yep. So definitely cycling this Triome, this Fetid Pools. So opponent could quite possibly have Mystical Dispute here. So if we had a Narset, I don't think we'd be going ahead with it. I think we'll just wait. Think we can go for Searcher's Canter. Happy to fight over this as well if our opponent wants to. But if our opponent tries to go for Nightpack Ambusher instead, then we've got the Ether Gust. If our opponent goes for like a Rewind or something, then we've got the Negate. Yeah, we can let that resolve. I wouldn't imagine that our opponent's playing like Hydroid Crisis, but there is a possibility. Probably keep a few lands. We only have the 1 swamp at the moment. Can probably graveyard the next land we find. Yeah, definitely going to have to try and stop this. So we'll take our 4 and then we will Shark Typhoon. I guess we can Shark Typhoon in our opponent's combat step. Okay, they're just going to activate instead. Yeah, I think we could Shark Typhoon in our opponent's combat step, and then if they want to Brazen Borrow it to protect the wolf, then they don't get an extra one. And I think we are going to make a 4-4 here and start the clock. Opponent could have Sublime Epiphany. Probably not, since that resolved. Yeah, they got the Brazen Borrow. Yeah, we're keeping this for the Nightpack Ambusher. There's 4 cards in graveyard, so Searcher's Canter isn't flipping just yet. Yeah, probably don't want to let this Night Pack Ambusher resolve. Can maybe wait one turn. We kind of wish these Aether Gusts were actually negate, were Essence Scatters or Disallows, just to be able to stop this Night Pack Ambusher permanently. Opponent going to go for the double Mystical Dispute. Yeah, we're going to negate the second one. If our opponent's willing to 2-for-1 themselves just to resolve the Night Pack Ambusher, then I think we're definitely willing to slow them down a little bit. Unfortunate that Extinction Event is going to be... Can I put that on the bottom? Yeah, they did. Wow. So, I assume our opponent has like Torrential Gear Hulk or Sublime Epiphany in hand. Yeah, I like Disallow. Probably have to take one more hit from the Brazen Borrower, hold open Disallow and as counter activation. I assume my opponent's sitting with like Sublime Epiphany in hand maybe, or Shark Typhoon. So I'm going to take 7 here. Yeah. Hopefully we can find a push. I think we'll activate now as well to see if we can find the push. I think Heartless Act will do. Do we go for damage? Go for the Shark. Depends what we think our opponent's going to play. If they're going to play more Brazen Borrowers, then obviously we'd rather go for the Shark, and vice versa. If they're going to play the Wolves, then we'd rather go for... Yeah, I want to get... If they're going to play more Wolves, then we'd rather go for the Brazen Borrower. Just so Extinction Event is a bit cleaner of an answer. I think I'm happy to fire off one Extinction Event. Otherwise our opponent's in a position where if we just do nothing, then they can just keep smacking us with that. And I think we're going to win the late game with Search Canter. I think we've got to let our opponent have this. They get to scry 2, draw 2. We get to activate our Canter though. I think they come out slightly on top, but we'll probably have to save the Disallow for the Torrential Gear Hulk. Okay, opponent hasn't hit 7 mana for their big old sorceries yet. We took out Torrential Gear Hulks, I believe. Probably going Shark Typhoon. I think we have to take the 4 here as well. If our opponent, if we try to ambush this Shark with our Shark, I guess we'll take the hit, but we actually can Shark Typhoon in the end step. If our opponent's Sublime Epiphanies creates a copy, counters our thing, then we can untap an Extinction Event. How much can we do this for? 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So probably going for the max amount. So our opponent might Sublime Epiphany here. But we get to untap Extinction Event and then maybe resolve a Narset. If we draw a land, we'll probably go Extinction Event, Narset, hold up, disallow. Because it looks like a... Oh, no, they don't have it. Oh, they're waiting to bounce our Shark first. It's going to save them 6 life, I guess, in the long run. Because we're planning on board wiping anyway. Okay, so we actually get to Four.Vs first, which is quite nice. Let's have a look what our opponent's up to. Oh, our opponent's got a whole load of counter spells. I guess we can just stop this Magma Opus. Just take the Torrential Gear Hulk. And then we'll wipe the board, and I think we'll just activate Azcanta here. Yeah, I don't know why I'm hesitating there even. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's 8 mana. So actually I think we do resolve Narset while we've got the opportunity to. Because they're 2 mana off their Opus. Grab a disallow. So I guess worst case scenario is they find Torrential Gear Hulk. Okay, stick down. So Shark Typhoon's going to hopefully close the game pretty quickly. So we've got a commit to memory in there. We've gone past 1 Shark Typhoon, 2 Shark Typhoons, 2 Negates, 2 Ether Gusts. Yeah, I mean, our opponent can memory lapse and we get to draw it again. I think I'm happy just to stop this still. Because we're in the same position if our opponent draws. I think we want to keep the disallow maybe. So maybe we just counter the Night Pack Ambusher here. And then memory lapse will put this back on top. And then we know we're drawing a relevant spell that we want. And that way we only have to trade 1 of our counter spells. We are only on 5 though, so I don't feel too comfortable. I don't really want to Four.Vs and put us in Brazen Borrower range. And in range of just dying. Okay, opponent's giving it quite a bit of thought. Just going to pass the turn back. So I really do want to tap down for the Shark Typhoon, but I think it's going to be really difficult. I think we're going to have to... Opponent, if they had 4 mana... I guess even with a land, they wouldn't be able to hold up Rewind as well as like Torrential Gear Hulk. We'll see. I think we have to leave up Disallow here though. So we can do it for 1, 2, 3, 4. Not going to be able to activate Azcanta, but at least we get to hold up Disallow. I think we should... I guess our opponent gets to rewind here, so it doesn't actually work out too well for us. Because our opponent will just get to counter and then untap, and then they'll still have rewind available. Better to wait for our opponent to attempt to cast the Brazen Borrower in our end step. So yeah, just going for Azcanta here. Maybe trying to dig for... Yeah, and then we'll counter now. Maybe just waiting to find our commit to memory. Now that our opponent's not really contesting the Narset. Don't really want to tap down, especially our opponent's shocked. Just gonna ship it back again. If our opponent goes for some big flashy spell, then we can always counter it. Just a bit worried of our opponent being able... They could have actually shocked in so they could rewind as well as activate this. But I am a little bit worried of our opponent just one-shotting us out of somewhere. They topped one. This is only game 2 as well, which is interesting to note. So let's activate as Canter, I guess. Thought Distortion is a good one. And I guess we just want to draw a card. Maybe actually want to gain... No, let's draw a card. Thought Distortion is at least going to 2-for-1 our opponent. And it's going to sort out this Torrential Gear Hulk flashback play. It's going to get all these creatures out of the graveyard. Or non-creature spells. Yeah, happy to let that go. Opponent's obviously just using this up because they know they're going to lose it to Thought Distortion. So, yeah, let's cast this. If your opponent has a Ambusher or something, they might want to do it now. Yeah, it makes sense to do it now. Yeah, because we're obviously just dead to this if this resolves. Okay, fortunately our opponent can't attack us this turn with a Night Pack Ambusher. Yeah, if they had an Ambusher, it made sense to do it when they did it, but maybe they should have held up the Rewind rather than countering the Cling to Dust. Not sure. Okay, so we're not just dead, but we are pretty close at the moment. Opponent's got one card in hand. Okay, Heartless Act is good. Doing our opponent's upkeep. Okay, that's a good one. So again, not just dead, but we are falling to 1 here, and we're going to have to deal with 2 creatures. Have we gone past both of our extinction events as well? No. Oh my god, I don't think we've seen many fatal pushes yet. Oh sweet, our opponent's going for Narset. I guess we're still dead either way. I guess Cling to Dust saves us, maybe? Probably. So let's just ship it back. So target Torrential Gear Hulk. Let's get a creature to gain a little bit of life. And we'll take some irrelevant spells out of our graveyard just in case we end up with the commit to memory plan. Guess we want Thought Distortion again, maybe? Thoughtseize, I guess we can take. So any other Thoughtseizes? Maybe a Narset? I'll take an Ether Gust. I guess we take it, maybe? It's going to be tough to recover from this either way. Feels bad if you find like a fatal push or something. Yep. Could have saved herself 3 life. Yeah, and I think that's GG. Yeah, probably should have activated Search Canter when our opponent was going to damage and attempted to find a Fatal Push or a Heartless Act to kill one of the tokens or the Nightpack Ambusher before they dealt damage to us. The only problem with that is if they have a counterspell, then it doesn't really work out for us. But yeah, as it goes, not much we can do. Can play Narset. Cling to Dust gains us 3 life. We can't draw. And we haven't got any board wipes to draw into. Yeah, good game. I guess we can go out on our own terms. See if our opponent had a counterspell. If our opponent has a counterspell here, then there was not much we could have done, because they would have stopped the Fatal Push. Okay, so they had Behold. I guess really do want to know what they had, so we'll stop the Behold. Okay, so opponent didn't have a counterspell in hand, but they would have dug 4 deep with Behold, so if they found one, and I think even a Quench would have done it. But yeah, unfortunate losing to Simic Flash. I think one of them lists that Fort Distortion, while good against, our opponent has a pretty even balance of creatures at the same time. So while we do get our 2-for-1, 3-for-1, and eat our opponent's graveyard, so Torrential Gearhulk's no good, they still get to keep their Ambushers and their Gearhulks. So, game 3 with some more Dimir Control, and I think we can keep this hand. Fable Passage will find us black mana. Unfortunately, we can't pair the Fable Passage with our Fatal Push. Yay, turn 1 Four.Vs. I mean, we're running Four.Vs as well, so can't complain too much, but feels like we're always being turn 1 Four.Vs. I wonder if it's just a matter of time before the novelty wears off. Get a bit bored of being Four.Vs'd so often. Yeah, I guess we'll hold on at the moment. I still think we want to keep our land, so we'll redraw now. But like now, if we're flooding, then we probably want to hold on to that Fetid Pools. Not sure what our opponent's on. Maybe like Sultai. Just struggling to find their blue mana. So goodbye, Cling to Dust. Guess it's fine to push this and then we can Fetid Pools cycle. Good Heartless Act, but probably more likely. It looks like our opponent may be on Golgari instead. So Heartless Act will hopefully get like a Elder Gargroth or something. Let's see another Four.Vs. Yep. I think just allow our opponent to do this. Make him take the disallow. Could have maybe played the Fable Passage last turn, just so we could activate our castle. This way, if our opponent's plan is to play a creature second main phase, then at least we have an answer to it in some way. Guess it doesn't work out against Scavenging Ooze, but yeah, it does against the Mammoth. Narset's pretty sweet one. Yeah, I guess we'll foresee. I mean, Commit to Memory could just be better here. I think I prefer Commit to Memory. Our opponent has Scavenging Ooze though. So opponent like plays, if they play 2 threats next turn, it's a little bit painful. Yeah, we're gonna go for Commit to Memory. It's got the highest payoff, I think. We only have the 1 in the list as well. We just have to be careful of a Scavenging Ooze. Okay, so opponent has the answer.
Such violence is upsetting.
Yeah, I mean, we could just put this back. Maybe it's better to disallow, actually. Then, I guess if we commit... Yeah, let's commit. The downside is if we commit and our opponent's Scavenging Oozes, then we lose memory, obviously. We still got some value out of it. But if we drew a land that turn with disallow, we could have activated Castle Lochwain and disallowed in the same turn. Yeah, I think I'd like to keep memory in the graveyard. I know our opponent's drawing Liliana next turn. It's going to be a shame, but we have Vraska's Contempts to answer it. Still have quite a few in the list. We have 1 Narset, I think. 3 Narsets. Unfortunately, does not steal Liliana. I wonder, since we got a mana advantage, we just want to cast Memory here. Can't remember if we've got 3 Narsets in the list or 2. Thinking we might just want a Memory. Yeah, our opponent's probably going to be able to Four.Vs us. I should have probably tapped our mana a little bit better, so we had Four.Vs up if we wanted it. So yeah, I guess we'll hold push up. Yeah, it works out a little bit worse for us. It's not necessarily how we intended on using memory. But it's not like we had an Azcanta going. And we've got quite a substantial mana advantage at the moment, so hopefully we're in a position where we can answer our opponent's threat here with Fatal Push, play Narset, hold up Vraska's Contempt. Yeah, happy with a discard 2. Guess we'll just hold on to this, discard these 2. Opponent's got to have found land. Nice bit of value. Guess we'll have a look at what our opponent's up to. Okay, so our opponent's got... Don't need to worry about Harvest. Scavenging Ooze is maybe a little bit of a pain, but our Fatal Push answer probably just going to take Mammoth. Then probably activate Lochwain. So yeah, lose some cards out of our graveyard, but I think it's fine. Not sure what our opponent's plan is with Harvest. It looks like they might be on just like a Golgari mid-range list. Yeah, only having a single black there. Yeah, that's fine. Not much we can do about that.
You are a mighty warrior. I concede.
Quite a bit of removal though. I think it's unlikely that our opponent's going to get to stick something. They're only on 10 as well, so if we can find a Shark Typhoon, we might be able to close the game pretty quick. It might be better just to activate the castle there. Don't really want our opponent gaining any more life. Just because you get to see more cards overall. You just don't actually get them into hand. Stealing Mammoth will be quite fun. Yeah, so we'll let Mammoth go. I should probably have scryed first. Should definitely have scryed first. Shark Typhoon's good. I guess we can take the Maelstrom Pulse. Then tempted the Mammoth away. Oh, our opponent has double Maelstrom Pulse. Nice. I mean, we'll still take it. And then we'll just activate Castle in the end step. But we've got Shark Typhoon, so if our opponent decides to answer the Mammoth, which I think they're probably inclined to do, then maybe they don't have an answer for Shark Typhoon. Yep. Torrential Gearhulk's good. See if our opponent plays around Torrential Gearhulk. I think I'm going to Fatal Push after they activate the use once. Yeah, it's probably better to do now, because our opponent, I don't think, is going to be greedy enough not to. Looks like our opponent's not playing around Torrential Gearhulk, because they could be taking some instants out of our graveyard. No. Okay. Looks like they just care about the life gain to fuel their castle. But yeah, not taking Vraska's Contempt might have been worth doing. So if our opponent taps down here and doesn't gain any life, it's lethal. Yep. So if our opponent doesn't have a land, sweet. I mean, Shark Typhoon is a real thing that we could have being in Dimir. So I think maybe a little bit unwise to tap down. So it looks like just pretty much straight up Golgari mid-range. So our opponent's running all CMC 3 or less things, pretty much. So maybe Shadow's Verdict's going to be really good. We are running 3 Narsets as well. Should probably know that. I actually like pretty much most of what we're doing. Heart Attack looks a little bit poor in the face of Scavenging Ooze. But at the same time, it's going to be nice just to have some pretty cheap removal. Our opponent's got a boatload of removal, so I don't know if Tempted's going to be good. It's going to 2-for-1 our opponent, but I don't know if that's going to be a problem. Maybe we just want to cut Four.Vs since our opponent has Four.Vs as well. I don't think we're going to win that game. I think we've got enough stuff to just answer what our opponent's doing. Maybe cut like 1 Tempted. Yeah, I like this hand. Gonna play out one of these Fetid Pools. It's a pretty reasonable hand. It'd be nice to have some 2-mana, either 2-mana removal or Fatal Push. Think if our opponent like Four.Vs the Shadow's Verdict away or Tempted by Auric and then gets something in under the Disallow, then we're going to be in a bit of trouble. Looks like they mulliganed to 6. Okay, so yeah, Four.Vs or Inquisition. So it can only take Disallow. Narset's a pretty good one to keep hidden on the top of our deck. I'm going to go for land here. Interesting what opponent's trying to do. Just sort of like run us out of cards. Make us... They've got quite a bit of hand hate. Don't mind that exchange. It's always such a good feeling with Narset when you play Narset, tick down, get some value, and then your opponent spends their whole turn answering Narset. Yeah, probably just not going to discard 2 here. And then when all's said and done, our opponent has a Murderous Rider and we have 2 board wipes. Gonna hold land in hand, just one of them, in case our opponent has another discard 2 effect. Hesitant to maybe cast the board wipe there just to answer a single Murderous Rider because our opponent doesn't have a castle down. But if we get a few hits, if our opponent gets a few hits in with the Murderous Rider, then when they inevitably do draw a castle, it's going to make our life a little bit more difficult. Yeah, Shark Typhoon's a good one. Okay, so opponent gets to answer Narset here.
I shall miss your company.
Feels like a really good exchange when that happens. I mean, I think your opponent still has to answer it. Okay, so they're going to mill 2 and we're going to lose 2. They're going to gain 2. Feels okay. Don't know how good with a bloom command is. Get to choose 2. Target player mills. Then you return a land from your graveyard to your hand. I mean, that's an okay one. Destroy target non-creature, non-land permanent. Yeah, I mean, that's okay as well. And it's potentially removal or gains you a little bit of life. So I guess it's not awful. I feel like that with a lot of the commands. We gave the Jeskai one a go yesterday. And all of the modes feel like just a little bit underpowered. Feels like none of them are like super exciting. Okay, so opponent's going to make us discard 2 and return a creature. So I guess we'll Shark Typhoon now for 4. And then, yeah, discard this land. Probably, I guess it doesn't really matter what we discard. If we get Shadow's Verdict, then we get the rest of our opponent's graveyard at the same time. But we lose our Narsets. Yeah, I think that's fine. Yeah, I might try and keep the pressure up, actually. It's a little bit worse if our opponent top decks a Planeswalker. But we get to keep smacking our opponent for 4 if they don't find a removal spell here. Shame. They have... what's that? Just 1 creature in the graveyard? So I guess we're actually winning this race. Opponent's pretty much shut down Cling to Dust here. We'll leave it a few turns before we Shadow's Verdict, because at the moment I don't really feel under any pressure to do so. If our opponent taps down here, then we'll probably Shadow's Verdict and then recast the Shadow's Verdict if we have enough cards in the graveyard. Yeah. So it's 5, so we could just draw 2 cards here. I might just target Disallow. And I don't know if it matters what we target from our opponent's graveyard. Maybe like Inscription? Our opponent's going to get to exile our Cling to Dust, but it's fine. Hopefully our opponent doesn't have a hand hate spell here for this Shark Typhoon. Yeah. So if our opponent, I guess Maelstrom Pulse is, what's this? So 4. Yeah, I mean, we don't have to shock this in. I think we will shock it in anyway. And make a 5/5. So if this is a brick from our opponent, then it's over. Yep. So I think most of the control decks we play here on the channel, don't have one too many. Most of the control decks we play here on the channel sort of thrive against these mid-range creature matchups. Like, Golgari's a pretty sick list, but mid-range doesn't work out too well against control a lot of the time. They're not quite fast enough to go under us. Okay, so game 4 with Dimir Control, and this looks like a straight-up mulligan. Yeah, we can keep this. Can get on board with this. Probably going to put one of these lands on the bottom, since we have Surturous Canter to dig us towards more lands. And for anyone who watches the channel even just a little bit will know we're pretty comfortable to keeping these 3 land hands. Yeah, I think we're just going to go for the Surturous Canter. We don't know what our opponent's on. It's very possible they have a Growth Spiral here. So we played against one of these lists earlier. We ended up losing. Simic Flash, I think it is. Aiming to get this Magma Opus back out of their graveyard with Torrential Gearhulk. The joke's on you, opponent. This time we are prepared. So, pretty graveyard first land. Cling to Dust is going to be okay. Against opponent gets to shuffle away their Brainstorm. Against Torrential Gearhulk and trying to flash back any cards out the graveyard, can exile them with Cling to Dust. This opponent's running Basic Mountain. I don't think the last opponent did. I think they were just Simic with splashing the Triomes. Okay, so we will Cleanse now. Just take that away. It's worth putting the extra card in the graveyard, I think, and just drawing a new card here. Yeah, I think it's worth cycling as well. Doesn't work out too well against the Wolf. Probably gonna graveyard that. Yeah, it's a much better removal spell. Sweet, so if our opponent taps down here to Nightpack Ambusher, then we get to Vraska's Contempt it. Four cards in graveyard, yeah, we'll keep a Shark Typhoon. So I don't hate our spot at the moment. Really depends what our opponent's got. We get to cycle Shark Typhoon if our opponent does nothing again. Yeah, I think that's fine. Opponent's probably going to have a counter spell for our counter. So probably just let this resolve and then go for the cycle on the Shark Typhoon and try and finish off Narset that way. Oh, Tamiyo. So this actually looks like quite a bit of a different list than what the previous opponent was playing. See if our opponent has like a Brazen Borrow here. We'll keep this just because it is a land drop. So yeah, we'll try and take out this Shark. Ooh, nice. I think it's worth probably just letting this go and then attempting to disallow the Tamiyo instead. It's like incredibly likely that our opponent's going to have a counter spell. Yeah, I'm not sure. Probably got to attempt to counter Tamiyo. Could have Vraska's Contempted the Shark or tried to and then killed Narset, but then our opponent gets to resolve Tamiyo. Oof, yeah. So we've got to get this Memory Lapse out of the hand. So our opponent might have another Memory Lapse in hand. Bit of a shame that the Disallow goes on top above the... I guess actually we'll probably throw the Disallow, keep the Heartless Act, and then we can blow up the Shark, finish off a Planeswalker. Vraska's Contempt the other one. And we'll go for Tamiyo first. She seems like more of a threat. So opponent on like extra turns or something. I wonder if we just let this go. If our opponent has another Tamiyo, I guess we could counter this. We get to kill Tamiyo, and then if our opponent has another Tamiyo, then we get to Vraska's Contempt. No, I think we'll just let that go. Because it's not guaranteed that our opponent's actually going to hit anything off of Tamiyo here. Obviously, they could. They could hit 4 for 4. It looks like they did hit something. So yeah, we'll try and counter this. Hopefully this works and our opponent doesn't have memory lapse. Nice. So Sultai's counter is going to flip. Yep, pretty sweet. So just finish off Tamiyo this way, and then we get to hold open the disallow. And then maybe we're in a position where we can take out Narset next turn. It looks like our opponent's just taking extra turns. No Nexus of Fate, but they do have Time Warp, and I can assume they're running the 7 mana one as well. Yeah, I don't think we can allow this. I mean, our opponent's going to get to overload this. They only have 1 red mana available. Yeah, we'll try and stop this. Land into Narset. I don't know if it's obvious you do this, just because if you tick down, yeah, not going to tick down.
Like wind and wave. This is overwhelming.
Probably want to tap 2 black sources.
I have just the trick for this.
So I think we've got to let this resolve.
You would make an excellent.
Okay, yeah, opponent's going to go up, makes sense.
I think you will find my notes helpful.
Oh, mad, opponent hit 1. So they get to foretell this. We get to activate Sultai's Canter. And whiff. I think we'll draw. Would like to find a removal spell for this Tamiyo if possible. Okay, so that card is in Foretell, so can't do anything about that.
You could use some manners.
The only thing we could hit is Vraska's Contempt. We do still have 1. In terms of disallows, we've got 1 disallow on the list. 1 disallow, 2 Vraska's Contempts. I guess if our plan was to... Yeah, I think we just have to pass. If our plan was to Vraska's Contempt, we probably should have done that before we went to combat.
To the library.
But at the same time, we need to represent we have something. I think we're going to activate, we're going to do it now. Yep. I mean, we could steal our opponent's Narset if they have one. But probably taking Shark Typhoon. So opponent can't tick down, otherwise we can cling to the dust the Tamiyo target. Opponent could scry, yeah, and then tick up with Tamiyo. Providing they find something they want to keep on top.
I noticed it somewhere.
Opponent's got not a lot of cards left in library. We've had some grindy games with Dimir today. I'm not even sure if it's Dimir is the reason these games are so grindy. I think part of it is what we were playing against at the same time. Okay. Just draw a card. Not sure if we should be tapping down. Looks like it's fine. So let's go for Tamiyo. Opponent will throw a bird in the way. Yeah. I feel like this is bait. But if we don't stop this now, then we lose our Cling to Dust anyway. If our opponent has Time Warp in hand, then yeah, feels a bit bad. Could have maybe Four.Vs our opponent. Trying to leave the opportunity open to be able to like double Cling to Dust or Cling to Dust activate Searcher's Cancer. I think even if we did Four.Vs, our opponent could brainstorm and put what they wanted back on top if they had anything of value. Okay, so opponent has no basics left. One thing we're not running is Field of Ruin. Oh no! I guess our opponent can't cast Time Warp. But yeah, Magma Opus is a good one as well. I guess we actually, thinking back to it, we actually couldn't have cast Four.Vs just because of Tamiyo. Pretty worth noting. But opponent has Torrential Gearhulk. Surprised, what does Magma Opus read? They didn't blow up. Oh, it's tap. It's not destroy. For some reason I thought it was destroy lands. Feel like we've got Extinction Event. We can name even, sort of mop up the board. Maybe we want a Narset, and then if we find Commit to Memory, which we do still have. Then we can do the combo. So yeah, let's Extinction Event first, naming even. And then it's probably worth just passing again and holding up Cling to Dust. Well, I guess our opponent can't tick down with Tamiyo. They'd need an extra turn spell. Yeah, let's put him in a position where we can finish it off with Shark Typhoon. Opponent has 8 cards left in library. So it's not even obvious that they want to tick up Tamiyo. I guess they'll have 10 after this. Yep. It's going to make answering Tamiyo a little bit more difficult. But opponent's got to win the game quite quickly. They might have a Jace, 4-mana Jace to answer, to close the game. That rewards you for milling. So opponent's got 5 cards left in library. I think opponent's just taking a moment to decide what they would like to do. Okay, opponent's going to target Shark Typhoon. We're going to try and take that Shark Typhoon. It's definitely a way our opponent could get back in the game. Oh, nice. I guess we'll put that on top first and then shuffle. We don't really want to draw Cling to Dust. So opponent, I'd imagine, cast Shark Typhoon here. It's going to be the way they're going to close the game. At least we get to Four.Vs here. Okay. So yeah, we'll fetch with Fable Passage and then probably just into Four.Vs, force our opponent to use their Shark Typhoon, and then maybe we can find an Extinction Event. Running, how many Extinction Events have we got rid of now? None? Or one? So yeah, let's go. So let's start by Four.Vsing. I think we've got like a number of Fatal Pushes we can find. Gone past one Fatal Push. So yeah, loads of stuff we can find. We can finish off our opponent's hand here. So this Shark Typhoon might be actually the last thing that our opponent has. So let's Narset. Because our opponent can't finish off in one attack anyway. Sweet. So get to push. And I guess, yeah, we'll Four.Vs the... our opponent's probably going to die to mill. We'll just activate Searcher's Canter this turn. And if our opponent doesn't draw an answer to Narset, then hopefully we can find Commit to Memory. Opponent bottom 2. So opponent knows every card in their library now. I'd like to make a comment about people just making that Narset mistake, but yeah, it just happens so much. Okay, I think Vortex Distortion is going to be quite good here. In the last Simic Flash list, we had a bit of problems with it. It was still really good, but where our opponent had quite a few creatures, it didn't work out too well for us. They still had Torrential Gear Hulks and Night Pack Ambushers, but here it looks like our opponent's got a ton of non-creature spells and only a few, maybe just Torrential Gear Hulk that is a creature. So Fort Distortion looks like it's going to be a good one. Opponent's not really casting spells out of the graveyard, so we don't really need to bring in cages. Ether Gust is going to be good. Negate, Mystical Dispute, Narset. I think even Four.Vs can maybe cut these pushes. Heartless Axe, Tempted, Extinction Event. Just trim a load of the fat. I think we'll keep in Vraska's Contempt to answer our opponent's Planeswalkers. And I think we need to keep in Clinted Astus because it was such a good answer to Tamiyo there. Maybe we need to cut one card. Maybe we want to cut like a Mystical Dispute. It's just like one of our... Maybe we'll cut Four.Vs because it doesn't work that well against Tamiyo. Sweet. So we are moving into game 2. And we've got a double counterspell hand with 5 lands. So yeah, looks good. We came to counter some spells. Let's counter some spells. We're going to play our island turn 1 just in case our opponent goes for a Searcher's Canter. We saw our opponent's entire list last game, so unless they're running Searcher's Canter in the board, they're probably not running it, but still just going to make sure. Yeah, let's... I guess we need to island here. If our opponent decides to go Narset plus Mystical Dispute, then we need something to be able to answer that. The logic was to play Fable Passage, so we could then play Castle Lochwain on the next turn. But I guess we don't need to draw an extra card right now. We're okay. Probably fetch a Swamp before cycling Fetid Pools. I'm not even sure if cycling it is correct, but we like to draw more cards. We're gonna keep it. I'm not sure. Okay, so let's have a look at what our opponent's up to. Could memory lapse here? Yeah, they're going to memory lapse. Oh no, just straight up negate. Yeah, we're not going to fight over this. Happy for our opponent to use a counter spell on our hand hate spell. I think Searchlight Counter is something we will fight over. Opponent's going to just let us have that. Okay, so double Mystical Dispute and negate. I think our worst enemy right now was a Shark Typhoon. Looks like our opponent's got one. Yep. So we're going to have to end step Shark and get rid of this with Vraska's Contempt. And I guess our opponent could have like Torrential Gearhulk into negate, which would be unfortunate. But it's not obvious that our opponent stops this because they've already got their value. Oh. Sometimes you just call it right. Torrential Gearhulk into negate, yeah. Opponent's tapping down. Quite a ballsy move, not knowing if we've kept our board wipes in. I think we're going to have to graveyard this. Okay, yeah. Probably GG now. Maybe boarded out too many removal spells. Opponent's just going for the 1-2 punch here. Trying to 18 us. Yeah, we don't want to draw Mystical Dispute again. We need to find a removal spell. So we can take 4 to draw an extra card. And then we'll fall to 3. And if we find Vraska's Contempt, we get to exile the Torrential Gearhulk. If we find a Shark Typhoon off the top, then I guess we get to do it for 1 and block the Torrential Gearhulk. It's probably not worth taking the damage. Just graveyard. Yeah, let's go digging. Yep, GG. Okay, so opponent's very fast there. Going for the quick win. Probably going to bring in... I guess we'll just bring in our Heartless Acts. I don't want to board too much for that. We just need to remember that that is definitely a possibility. Our opponent can hit us pretty hard. What do we want to cut for it? Problem is, I think the whole list is pretty good. Maybe we cut Clin to Dust. It's got some good applications in the late game. Oh, tough, tough, tough. We cut like a Vraska's Contempt. And maybe we just... It's not too important our opponent drawing cards. So, we are on the play this time, and we have the opposite problem to what we had last time. We have tons of interaction if our opponent resolves creatures, but not a lot of counter spells. But the advantage of this is our opponent does not run black, so they will never get to look at our hand. So, as long as we bluff counter spells, we'll be okay. And hopefully our opponent goes turn 1 Triome rather than Island, so we can resolve this Searchlight Counter. Sweet. And Mystical Dispute's pretty good. Hopefully it'll buy us enough time that we can find a real counterspell. I say real counterspell. Obviously Mystical Dispute is one. Probably got to graveyard that. It's a bit early to be casting a Torrential Gearhulk. And we know our opponent definitely has the capability to close the game pretty quickly. So this is not one of the matchups where it's like... Yeah, I think that's fine. This is not one of them matchups that you can just willy-nilly shock yourself. Yeah, I think we're in a position where we can still take a Narset. I don't think we're going to play Narset just yet. Probably just going to keep like exclusively lands now. It's a good source of ramp. Opponent's got to be pretty certain that we do have a counterspell up, since we took quite a bit of a pause there. Okay, so we can only assume that this is the 6 mana, take an extra turn. Gonna graveyard this in the hopes of finding land. Sweet. Okay, so at least we get to maybe find another Mystical Dispute. If opponent goes, so 4, 5, if opponent goes land extra turn, we get to Mystical Dispute, and then we get to play Narset, so I guess we've probably got to just take a counter spell. We cut one of our Narsets, so we're back to 3 in the main. So I assume our opponent goes like fetch and then extra turn. Maybe not. They're going to have 3 mana left after this. Yeah, we'll attempt to negate. Opponent's going to have Memory Lapse or Mystical Dispute or Negate of their own. But I guess make them use it. So opponent's going to take all of our negates. They get to look at our hand as well. Test of Talents. This is something we ran in the Azorius list for the Ultimatums. I don't know if Test of Talents is worth it just countering a counterspell. Probably going to just graveyard this in the hopes of drawing just more counters here. Our opponent is able to exile our graveyard with the Soul Guide Lantern. I don't know if they wait till Searchful's Cantor is just about to flip to get maximum value out of it. Yeah, we'll definitely keep a disallow. Could even disallow the activation of the Soul Guide Lantern if we're really desperate for our Searchful's Cantor to flip. So opponents, yeah, can now go extra turn. I guess they can't. They're going to get 2 1/1s out of the deal. Which finishes off our Narset. I don't know how much our opponent cares about our Narset being on the field, the static ability. I guess they can't Brainstorm. They can't. Magma Opus gets a lot worse. Yeah, I think we are going to try and stop this. Because our opponent doesn't have Memory Lapse up right now. They do have Mystical Dispute. Yeah, we don't actually know how much this is. Yeah, we'll keep that. How much this Narset is hurting. This is now going to be 7 mana instead of 6. Yeah, we'll graveyard. So opponent now probably has to exile our graveyard with the Soul Guide Lantern. Yeah, we'll stop this. Opponent only has 2 cards left in hand. You know, not much you can do. Like, our opponent's taken all of our negates. We have 2 disallows left. Yeah. Assume our opponent goes, sends both after Narset here. Yep, just allow this to go through. And now if our opponent has Brainstorm, I'm going to go for a Shark Typhoon. Now they activate, yep. So what's the opportunity to maybe disallow that? I think it's fine. So we don't have many answers to the Shark Typhoon. Our main answer is going to be kill the sharks, I guess. Yeah, not much we can do. I guess we can sack this in the hope of finding a disallow. I guess that doesn't even work because our opponent has memory lapse. Yeah, probably slipping us away from us a bit. Not sure where it sort of went wrong. Sort of felt like we had pretty good position overall during the game. Maybe our opponent drew a little bit better than us, I'm not sure. I mean, we drew pretty good, like disallows. Oh, double Mystical Dispute, nice. So we've got a cast of Vraska's Contempt now. I definitely think we're going for the Narset as well. Yeah, this is pretty good with Shark Typhoon. Pretty good with Shark Typhoon as well. Don't think we boarded in our board wipes. I think we just brought in some removal spells. Wasn't planning on getting to a point where our opponent was able to cast a Shark Typhoon. Yeah, opponent's going to waste no time. Shoot us for 4, I guess. Draw 2. We'll see what we draw, but it's unlikely we're going to be able to recover from this. Yeah, we don't have board wipes in the list. I mean, Extinction Event would mop this whole situation up, but yeah, I believe we boarded them out. Sweet, yeah, GG. Okay, so on to game 5, the final one of Dimir Control, and this is probably going to be a mulligan. Yeah, we'll keep this. It's probably correct to put Tempted on the bottom, but I feel like we're going to put Vraska's Contempt to give Tempted a chance to shine. Probably need to Four.Vs. Take the Four.Vs. I feel like today Dimir hasn't done too well compared to the other lists. We had the first game where our opponent scooped really early, and then we won against the Golgari list, which probably isn't too difficult for most control lists to do. By the way, I'm pretty happy we kept Tempted. So don't really just want to play Searcher's Canter into the Skyclave. Yeah, Dimir I don't think's done too well so far. I think we'll cycle Shark Typhoon for 1 here, try and guarantee we hit an untapped land. And if we don't, at least we have a chump blocker for the Adontis Vanguard. So, guess we'll Narset, try and bait that Skyclave.
I train every day. No one keep an open mind.
Opponent might Dire Tactics our Shark, hoping, well, and then just finish off the Narset with the Adontis Vanguard. It's worked out okay for us, though, because we get to obviously steal the Adontis Vanguard. Our opponent won't be able to Dire Tactics it back. Though I guess we're not really going to be attacking too much of it. Probably just use it for a chump blocker. Opponent going to go for us because we're missing lands. Yeah, I can see this and then come down with the Skyclave. Unfortunately, we don't have a black to punish this play.
My mind needs a rest.
Okay, so play here is Searcher's Canter. And then if our opponent removes the Searcher's Canter, we can push the Skyclave. Get ourselves a 3/3. If not, then hopefully Searcher's Canter can find us a land. God, we got it rough today. Probably gonna keep this, I guess, because it's like a guaranteed answer to the thing, to the Skyclave. If our opponent has like a protection spell here, though, we're pretty done. And then we'll just throw the token from the Skyclave in the way of the Adonta's Vanguard. Save ourselves a little bit of life. And then if our opponent plays a big drop, at least a permanent would have left the battlefield this turn. And if our opponent doesn't, then they leave themselves open to the risk of us just Vraska's contempting the Adonta's Vanguard. So I feel like our opponent has to contribute. Okay, maybe they have a Death Shadow here. Yep. Sweet, so we just get to push this and then hopefully untap and then Vraska's contempt the Adonta's Vanguard. No, deck, give us a land, please. Yes. I guess we're doing our opponent's upkeep. Got to imagine that opponent's running Ranger of Eos, is it? Searches for 2/1 drops, grab some Death Shadows. Maybe it's better to take the hit, fall to 2, and then disallow if our opponent has something. But we're going to flip Searcher's Canter, and we've got Tempted by Auric. Okay, his opponent got Death Shadow. I don't know if it's worth them losing more life. Don't know if they need to do it now. Ah, okay, sure. So it was definitely worth taking the hit from the Adonta's Vanguard and holding up in disallow. So if we take Death Shadow is actually going to be a 6/6. Yeah? I'll steal your 6/6 Death Shadow. There's a few things our opponent could have, but I doubt they have a steal back spell. So even if they kill the Death Shadow, we're only going to be taking 2 this turn. And then maybe our deck will grace us with some cards. I guess lands aren't really that good at the moment. But yeah, it worked really well there. Yeah, so got our 2 for 1. Though I guess our opponent got it back with Agadim's Awakening. So yeah, let's get down. Can't really leave open. Got to hold open disallow, I think. Don't really have the life to Four.Vs. We're going to be hanging on by a thread. Gonna disallow this. And this buys us an extra turn. If our opponent doesn't have another creature here. So, falling to 1. Gonna sack Mind Stone. Give ourselves the best opportunity of drawing something. No, deck. Okay, so I guess Narset gives us 1 more mana, but it doesn't really matter. We need to find Fatal Push or something. Some cheap interactive spell. And Fatal Push is good, yeah. Play this tapped. Oh, I know. What am I saying? Fatal Push doesn't even work, does it? Skyclave's a free drop. No. You can tell I'm about done with Dimir. I don't know if it's the way I've built the list, or we've been unfortunate with some of our draws, or maybe our matchups haven't been good. But like I said, I feel like Dimir hasn't performed as well as I'd like it to have performed. So I don't think we need to bring in Cage. Our opponent only really had Agadim's Awakening. Shadow's Verdict looks good. I think that's about it. We don't need Clinging to Dust as well. Not too sure what we should cut. Maybe a Four.Vs. Okay, so going into game 2 against Orzhov humans, and I actually feel like Control has a pretty good matchup against these human lists, especially when it goes late. I think we just got unfortunate there with our land drops, took a bit too much damage in the early game, and I think Jeskai actually ended up losing to humans, if only by a very small margin yesterday, so hopefully Dimir can do it, but we are going to mulligan that hand. Oh my god. Oh my god. You love it. You love it. I kind of feel Dimir, part of how we did yesterday with Jeskai at the same time. Like, I really want to play Jeskai again, because I feel like there's a few tweaks to the list that could make it a bit better. And we had some pretty bad draws, ended up not hitting our land drops a lot yesterday with Jeskai. I feel like it's been a similar situation today with... I guess we'll just play this. It's been a similar situation today with Dimir. Struggled to hit our land drops in places. And had some unfortunate draws. And I think probably this isn't the most optimum build of Dimir you could make. That being said, we're left with Fatal Push, so as long as our opponent doesn't have like an One.Vs Vanguard, we might be okay. The opponent's just taking all of our cards. I didn't want a mulligan, but I didn't really want to keep a 2-lander, especially when our mana was so awkward. I'll have a look at what our opponent's playing with. Oh, nice. We get to take this Ranger just before our opponent casts it next turn. But that's it. We're both empty-handed. Top deck War. Okay, opponent's going to win this top deck War unless we find something. No, Four.Vs is not what we want to see. We did make a mistake last game, though, because we could have... I took the Fatal Push when we should have taken Shark Typhoon just to block for an extra turn. So kind of my mistake that we lost the first game, though there's no guarantee we would have won it in the end. Okay, so we've got to take another hit here. We get to Scry, though. Yay for us. Opponent's going to just completely discard our entire hand. Take a big old smack for 5. I guess we'll just do this now. Yeah, we'll take your Knight. We can even activate Knight. How sweet. And our opponent did us the courtesy of making it a bit bigger, so it survives their Deadlands. Yeah, we can even activate the Knight. Does our opponent block here? They'll be taking 9. I think they block. If they block, we can just activate Castle Vantress. If they don't block, then we'll double pump. Think if you're the opponent, you've got a block here. Block and pump. And the Knight gains Death Touch, so there's no point in us doing it. Oh no! Yeah, okay. That was should have activated our Knight, obviously. For some reason I thought the Knight had Death Touch. Yeah. We are done with Dimir today. We can revisit on another day when we potentially... Let's put a pause in case we hit a Fatal Push. We'll revisit on another day when we're maybe in a better Dimir mood. and maybe reevaluate the way we've built the list. Yeah, GG. Okay, I'm happy to say we threw this entire game. We obviously just threw away our knight for no reason at all, and we made a mistake with the fatal push because it was our free CMC in the first game. I promise I am a better player than that, but yeah, let's move on to the wrap up. Howdy guys, cheers for making it to the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed watching some Dimir Control, maybe a little bit more than I enjoyed playing some Dimir Control. But that being said, I do really like Dimir. Dimir is one of my favourite colour combinations. Probably is reserved for Azorius and Jeskai. But Dimir sort of gives me that feel that Azorius gives, a pretty consistent mana base, and you've got a pretty simple plan that you're trying to execute. You're trying to remove your opponent's threats and then take over with some card advantage. Outside of the Narset commit memory combo, we're not trying to do anything flashy, maybe just search Rascanter, and going back and flashing in a Torrential Gearhulk is something. Torrential Gearhulk came out when I started playing Magic, so I'm a relatively new player, so it goes back to nostalgia for me. So that's one of the reasons I like playing Dimir at the same time. But how do we think the Dimir Control list did overall, and how has it compared to the other control lists that we've played over the last few days with Strixhaven and the Mystical Archive cards? I feel probably ultimately this Dimir Control list isn't refined enough. It's really difficult, personally, maybe it's not difficult for everyone else, to decide exactly on numbers that we're playing and what removal spells and interaction we're going to play. For example, one of the problems I think in this list was we weren't running enough counter spells. I think we definitely want to be running Memory Lapse and maybe even more 3-mana just hard counter spells, because I feel like we've got a really good ability to answer what our opponent puts down, but sometimes we can't necessarily answer just big flashy spells that our opponents cast that we just don't really have anything apart from a counter spell. So maybe we need to run more of them. At the same time, there are so many black removal spells and board wipes at the moment. You've got Extinction Event, Shadow's Verdict, Languish, the new board wipe that destroys all non-dragons. Which one of them are we running? And are we running 4 of them? How many are we running ultimately overall? Are we putting more on the sideboard? It's really a meta call. And then you go further down the curve. Are we running Eliminate, Heartless Act, Fatal Push, Murderous Rider, Doomblade, maybe? Probably a meme on Doomblade, but you get my point. There's tons of different removal spells that we could be running, and there's loads of different ways to build a Dimir Control list. I feel like this probably isn't the right angle. If I was going to do it again, like I said, I'd put more counter spells in, so we had more of answers to just trying to keep our opponent off the board rather than answering more so what's down, and answer maybe with like Fatal Pushes and Heartless Acts. I probably wouldn't play Tempted by Auric again. I feel like it's a really good 2-for-1 in a lot of situations, and I feel like it might have actually won us the game in that last game with the Knight of the Evil Legion had I not have made a massive fuck up and not activated our Knight when we should have. But I feel like it's just a 2-for-1, and Dimir Control has no problem 2-for-1ing your opponent and just answering what they've got. So card advantage is not our issue, it's surviving a lot of the time. I'd probably maybe go up on the Narset commit memory combo, add some more earlier game interaction and some more counter spells overall. And if I was going to make space for something, I'd probably make space for God Eternal Kefnet, since it's one of the reasons I really enjoy playing Dimir. And if you go down the Kefnet route, we're already like pretty consistent with the mana base, so we could always just play Brainstorm at the same time, and I know that would work really well with Kefnet. We get to draw in our opponent's turn, potentially draw something good, and at the same time set up our draw so we draw something relevant that can trigger off Kefnet. So maybe that's the angle to take. Could even play Ops with that as well. Maybe Kefnet Control is where we want to go, and maybe Tempted by Auric will shine more so in a Kefnet list. And maybe you take out the Narsets and things like that, so everything's going to trigger off Kefnet. I still like keeping in Torrential Gearhulks at the same time because they're pretty sick with all of these instants. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought down below. Another thing as well, Planeswalkers. Are we running enough of them? Because I know Azorius and Jeskai normally take over with their Planeswalkers. You 1-for-1 your opponent a lot, and then you play a Planeswalker, you tick up your Teferi, for example. Your opponent may hit it down to 2, but then you get another tick up, and then it's just really difficult for your opponent to sort of recover from that 2 or 3-for-1 in the late game. We don't have any of that with this list, so we've got to really rely on our Search Rascanter, which I found a lot of the time was difficult to do when it's free mana to activate. Running a 26 land list, you'd think we'd hit our land drops more so before turn 3, but turns out you don't. Sometimes you just miss all of your land drops, which Brainstorm would help with at the same time. But yeah, maybe we need to run more Planeswalkers and stuff that we don't have to invest mana into every single turn to get some value out of. But that being said, yeah, I thought the list was okay. It needs to be refined a little bit more. Maybe we were just not got ahead in the game this time, and maybe we just wasn't so on it with Dimir. Maybe we need to go back to Azorius, or maybe we just need to give it a day or two and sort of filter our brain a little bit and go, how can we come back and build this Dimir control list differently? I've already said how I would do that. I'd probably add Kefnets and things like that. In terms of the sideboard, yeah, Fort Distortion I think was great. It came up in one of our matchups. It did really well, but it didn't end up winning because our opponent had some creatures at the same time. We need our negates because we need more counterspells and then control matchups, along with Mystical Disputes. You probably don't need the 4th Gnash set in the board, and there's probably an excuse to just put them cages back in the main. Though you got to be careful, if you are putting cages in the main, then your Torrential Gear Hulk's obviously not going to work how you want it to work. So it is a delicate balance. Maybe you cut the Torrential Gear Hulks altogether and just play cages in the main. That could be the angle you take. One thing I do like above Dimir that's not necessarily an Azorius, though you can build into it, is having the inclusion of Mind Stone as well, having a little bit of ramp. We obviously didn't see Mind Stone as much as we would like to, and for that matter, we didn't actually cast a Torrential Gear Hulk, I don't believe. But yeah, pretty good cards, and I think had we have found them, they would have done quite a bit. Mind Stone we ended up just drawing late game when it's not as relevant. But that being said, I should really make these endings a little bit more concise. I hope you guys enjoyed watching some Dimir Control. Check out the channel in the future. We're going to jump back to some Jeskai, and we're going to give this Dimir list another go, and we're going to pick up some more Azorius. We end up playing Azorius tons, but it's one of my favourite lists, and it's probably the main way we're going to get to Mythic if we're going to do it this season. So stay tuned for all of that. Do all the normal stuff if you can be asked. If not, don't worry about it. And yeah, until next time, stay safe.